Hello, guys and gals, me Mutahar, and it almost feels like the entire world of corporate America and big tech is trying to speedrun its way into absolutely pissing off its entire customer base. Now, if you're somebody that produces content on the internet like me, or you're somebody that likes to dabble in creating, videos, maybe you like to Photoshop things, you probably know of a company known as Adobe, okay? It's been around for a long time. In fact, you don't have to be a content creator to use it. Are you sitting in a hospital or something and probably looking through PDFs? You might be the boomer that's still running Adobe Acrobat, okay? Or your organization might still be using Adobe products. Now, Adobe released this little ping on most people's creative clouds that pretty much scared people immediately when they saw it. Updated terms of use. We made some changes to Adobe's general TOS regarding the use of software. Clarified that we may access your content through both automated and manual methods, such as for content review. No! Ladies and gentlemen, immediately upon reading that, people started to wonder, whoa, how do I quickly cancel my subscription? I don't want this company looking through my stuff. That's weird. Now, if you don't know, Adobe's been kind of pushing this AI craze lately, and I'm just going to say it like it is. I think artificial intelligence and user privacy are like two things that can never meet, okay? As long as these big companies keep pushing into making artificial intelligence a thing, they're going to need training data, okay? Meaning data that they use to basically train these AIs into producing the weird gobbledygook, the photos, the videos, the music that they end up producing. That training data, people are fearing, is actually coming from their own projects, okay? Their own products. So obviously that's a big no-no, and it might even be illegal depending on where you live. But honestly, for big companies, it's about making $5 billion and then paying a $5 million fine sometime in 2033 and hand washing all of your sins away. That's just unfortunately how things work. Now, Adobe's kind of been running the entire PR campaign for the last 2 days, trying to make sure that people understand, whoa, hold on there, buddies. This isn't, we're not trying to be those assholes stealing your stuff. So they talk about, we recently made an update to our terms of service with a goal of providing more clarity on a few specific areas and pushed a routine reacceptance of those terms to Adobe Creative Cloud and document customers. So what's different? The focus on this update was to be clear about the improvements to our moderation processes that we've given in place, given the explosion of generative AI and our commitment to responsible innovation, okay? They've also added human moderation to the content submissions review processes. So they give an idea of what exactly was updated in this situation. So they bring up section 2 and section 4. We're going to read this a little closer ourselves. To be clear, Adobe requires a limited license to access content solely for the purpose of operating or improving these services and software, and to enforce our terms to comply with the law, such as to protect against abusive content. So, okay, the abusive content part makes a little bit of sense. Anytime you go to a cloud service provider and you upload content like photos, they will periodically check hashes on files to make sure things don't match up with known CSAM hash files, okay? We've talked about this extensively before on my channel, but that's kind of what they're going with. Adobe does this, Google does this, Apple will do this, tons of cloud providers will do this. And I necessarily don't have an issue with them making sure that CSAM content doesn't exist on their servers. But that is totally different from the first fucking sentence that we are talking about here, which we'll delve into. So they say that access is needed for Adobe applications and services to perform the functions they are designed and used for, such as opening and editing files for the user or creating thumbnails or a preview for sharing. Oh yeah, is that it? That's such a broad sentence that legally you could probably use it to improve other parts of your software, like generative AI, okay? It kind of feels vague enough for it, doesn't it? Adobe Access is needed to deliver some of our most innovative cloud-based features, such as Photoshop, neural filters, liquid mode, or remove background. You can read more, including how users can control how their content may be accessed. For content processed or stored on Adobe servers, Adobe may use technologies and other processes, including escalation for human review, so when they're checking for that CSAM behavior. Now, they do say that nothing in their generative AI model is trained on consumer content. which is basically we have to take their fucking word for it. You can read their FAQ when they actually talk about where this content is coming from. So they actually say the content comes from a data set of licensed content such as Adobe stock and public domain content. And they're going to find new avenues for, I guess, ethically sourced training data. So where I want to look into is the fucking legal board for this, okay? Because I really do not trust any of these companies. This is adobe.com/legal/terms.html. And again, I'm going to refresh the page just so people know that I'm not bullshitting around and that this is not, this is literally not edited, okay, in any capacity. So this is published February 17th, effective as of February 17th, 2024. So the version of what people are kind of freaked out about is right here, 4. So 4.2, which is licenses to your content, okay? So right here they write, solely for the purposes of operating or improving the services and software. And again, that can be so vague, okay? What do you mean improving the services and software? Your software is implementing AI across the board. Photoshop, After Effects, shit like Premiere Pro. Anything that you say improves the software. It could be anything. That is such a vague term. It could literally, if you use my IP to market your product to improve your services and software, I don't know. The vagueness is a thing people are calling out. And there are legal firms that sit down and wonder, maybe we need to reconsider our, relation with Adobe. If they don't have some VIP clause or like an enterprise level situation already. You grant us a non-exclusive, worldwide, royalty-free sublicense, license to use, reproduce, publicly display, distribute, modify, create derivative works based on, publicly perform, and translate the content, okay? So you're granting them all of that, okay? All of that stuff when you deal with your content. And remember, content means any text, information, communication, such as audio files, video files, electronic documents. So imagine uploading like an NDA written document, okay, and it gets scanned by their cloud service, okay? Are you not violating an NDA by possibly doing that in some way? It's such a confusing minefield. Or images that you upload, import to, embed or use, embed for use by or create using the services and software. We reserve the right to remove content or restrict access to content, services, and software if any of your content is found to be in violation of the terms. And I think that has more to do with illegal CSAM material. But this is what they mean by any content. They have basically covered anything that you're uploading. So right here, going back to 4.2, in specific, right, where they may, for example, we may sublicense our right to the content to our service providers or to other users to allow the service and software to operate as intended, such as enabling you to share photos with others. Separately, section 4.6 below covers any feedback that you provide to us. So what's interesting about this is it already feels vague, right? Like we talked about this first sentence where your content solely for the purposes of operating or improving their software and services. Could that not include your AI services? Could that not include your generative stuff? Okay, that is so vague that even if you were to take these people to court, this might give Adobe enough legal water to stand tall and say, we literally are just using this stuff to improve our software and services. And again, when they talk about things like, for example, sublicensing the right to the content for the service providers or to other users to allow the services and software to operate as intended, such as then allowing you to share it with other people. It's like they used the most harmless example for the most vague clauses imaginable. And that's literally the only thing that people have been having a serious issue with, okay? 2 days ago, this started popping up. People got a little pop-up. They started to see this. And for Adobe, they've talked about this situation not being that new, okay? So when this user on the internet, Sasha Yanshin, called this out, for instance, this exact section, one of the users, the strategy product design author at Adobe, talked about every cloud service requires a license solely for the purpose of operating. That's been over there for a decade, but our summary language didn't clarify. So they posted that clarification, which we read. And again, this person says, I give zero shits about the Adobe clarifications or blog posts. You force people to sign new terms. Legally, they are the only thing that actually matter. And that's true. Blogs don't matter. Your legal print is the only thing that matters. That's all we signed with, okay? So then they say, hey, listen, for the sole purpose of operating license that every cloud company requires to function, host, and modify content for certain features has been there for 11 years. But like, what's interesting about this is this guy, they've never written anywhere in this legal text that, okay, for all these services, your content is going to be used to improve the services and software, but nowhere is it going to be prevented from being used in their generative AI. You might be like, well, Muda, what if this is just for people who are operating within the, Creative Cloud, their online hosting service? So for anybody that doesn't know, when you purchase a subscription to Adobe software, you get access to like 100 gigabytes of online storage space. And this is the thing. If you ask me personally, I think if you expect privacy from an online storage provider, never expect that. Even though I think personally, if you're paying for storage, you should be allowed to store what you want with a reasonable expectation of privacy. I kind of compare this to like public storage places where you rent a place out in the real world, you drop shit in there, and provided it's not readily apparent that that place is being used for illegal purposes like operating a meth lab or something like that, you should be under reasonable understanding that nobody is going to open up your door out of nowhere and just look through your stuff. If people figured that was going to be happening at a big storage facility, I would probably wager that 99% of the people renting there probably would choose to cancel their fucking subscriptions if they found out that is what could possibly happen, and that's what you're legally giving them allowance to. And that's one of the things that goes into my head. It's one of the reasons why, even for me right here, we have our own actual personal cloud storage. So I have a server in the basement that we just upload stuff to, and you can access it from anywhere in the world. When I gotta send anybody a file, I just upload it to a server in the basement. I give them a little, share link. They download it to their computer and call it a day. But honestly, I feel like that's just, not many people are going to be doing that or have the understanding to set up their own cloud providers. But yeah, this is one of the things where it's like, if you're paying for anything and Adobe sign, it's not like they're giving you this stuff for free. So then to add extra stuff onto this legal text is just an insult to injury. And it's got people really actually discussing this situation. Look, Adobe has competition, okay? They do. At this moment in time, reading through some of the stuff and realizing how much we pay for Adobe, I might as well just start fucking learning DaVinci Resolve properly and just completely cut the cord at this point, okay? Because here's the thing about a company like Adobe. It's one of those things, it's like the Microsoft recall stuff. One company gets way too big, and they pretty much dominate the market share, and then they think they can get away with basically anything, okay? Especially when they dabble into fields like artificial intelligence. I miss the days where you can just buy an actual, revision of a software and not have to worry about having a financial tie to a company, right? You used to be able to buy Adobe, you could buy Premiere like CS5, CS6, and then they turned it into a subscription model, right? Which basically you end up paying the same price roughly anyways, but you just never own the software, okay? And they keep touting you with, yes, you get access to a consistent rolling release of software and updates and cool stuff behind the scenes. But for most people who aren't really dabbling with the most experimental tech, they probably would be better if they could just buy a license and call it a day. But at this moment in time, if you're still using Adobe after reading shit like this, it might be time for you to start canceling your subscriptions. I know that we are, and we're probably just gonna switch to something that is a little less insulting to the intelligence of the average individual using their software. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like if you dislike it, I am out.